Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you joining me to watch my videos. You can help by subscribing and sharing my videos. There is an alert coming out Florida. In Port Richey, near Florida's Gulf Coast, of not only a health hazard, but an environmental hazard. An invasive giant African snail that has already been eradicated twice in the last 50 years in Florida is back, and the county are now on high alert. The Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services confirmed there were giant African land snails found in the Port Richey area on June 23rd. A quarantine was issued on June 25th that prevents residents from moving the snail or related items like plants and soil in or out of the designated quarantine area. Residents who think they have spotted the giant African land snail are asked to call the FDACS hotline and avoid touching the snail without gloves because of the risk of meningitis. Well, not just meningitis, but lungworm. Rat lungworm is a parasite worm that infects rats, snails, slugs, and certain crustaceans, such as shrimp. This potentially deadly parasite is called rat lungworm after the location that the worm is found in its natural host, the rat. The worm lives in the blood vessels of the rat's lungs, and the female worms produce offsprings, larvae, that are shed in the rat's stool into the surrounding environment. This is when the larva can infect snails and slugs, which serve as a second and intermediate host. The larvae develop within the slugs and snails until they become infectious to other rats who eat the slugs and snails. Humans can acquire the parasite when eating infected slugs or snails, or even pieces of slugs and snails in raw produce. Humans also may be able to acquire the infection by eating uncooked infected freshwater shrimp, land crabs, frogs, monitor lizards, and vegetables contaminated with slug or snail slime. The larvae are extremely small and cannot be seen with the naked eye. Therefore, people will not know if they have accidentally eaten the infected larva. Because humans are not a natural host, the parasite cannot complete its natural life cycle and tends to migrate to various parts in the body, usually the brain, and less commonly the lungs. The presence of the worm in humans causes significant damage, both from the direct damage caused by the worm's movements and the response of the body's immune system trying to fight off the worm. In the brain, the worm causes a disease called eosinophilic meningitis. Sorry for pronouncing that wrong. It's spelled EOSINOPHILIC, which is associated with severe headaches, neck stiffness, nausea, vomiting, seizures, and weakness. Most patients, not all, fully recover, but some patients, particularly those infected with many worms, may die due to infection. So what you need to do is with homegrown or commercially bought vegetables is to make sure they're thoroughly washed and free of slug and snails when eaten raw. People who live in an area where the rat lung worm are found or who are traveling to those areas should be careful to avoid any potentially contaminated vegetables and not eat raw or undercooked snails, slugs, freshwater shrimp, land crabs, frogs, and monitor lizards. Giant African land snails, which can reach 8 inches long, are illegal to import or possess in the United States without a permit. The recent outbreak likely originated from illegal pet trade. Last time I think it took them over 2 years to eradicate the snails out of one area, And the snails can produce up to 2,500 eggs per year. So if you see one of these pests, definitely call the USDA's Animal and Plant Health Inspector Service in your state. Yeah, another thing to be paranoid about. So what are your thoughts? Put your comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Please stay safe, and I will talk to you later. God bless you. Bye.